Practical Vedanta Part 3, Text 2. As we have seen, it is not a sufficient generalization. And secondly, it is not an explanation of nature from nature. It holds that the effect is not the cause, that the cause is entirely separate from the effect. Yet all human knowledge shows that the effect is but the cause in another form. To this idea, the discoveries of modern science are trending even today. And the latest theory that has been accepted on all the sides is the theory of evolution, the principle of which is that the effect is but the cause in another form, a readjustment of the cause, and the cause takes the form of the effect. The theory of creation out of nothing would be laughed at by modern scientists. Now, can religion stand these tests? If there be any religious theories which can stand these two tests, they will be acceptable to the modern mind, to the thinking mind. Any other theory which we ask the modern man to believe, on the authority of priests or churches or books, he is unable to accept, and the result is a hideous mass of unbelief. Even in those in whom there is an external display of belief, in their hearts there is a tremendous amount of unbelief. The rest shrink away from religion, as it were, give it up, regarding it as priestcraft only. Religion has been reduced to a sort of national form. It is one of our very best social remnants. Let it remain. But the real necessity which the grandfather of the modern man felt for it is gone. He no longer finds it satisfactory to his reason. The idea of such a personal God and such a creation, the idea which is generally known as monotheism in every religion, cannot hold its own any longer. In India, it could not hold its own because of the Buddhists, and that was the very point where they gained their victory in ancient times. They showed that if we allow that nature is possessed of infinite power and that nature can work out all its wants, it is simply unnecessary to insist that there is something besides nature. Even the soul is unnecessary. The discussion about substance and qualities is very old, and you will sometimes find that the old superstition lives even at the present day. Most of you have read how during the Middle Ages, I am sorry to say even much later, this was one of the subjects of decision, whether qualities adhere to substance, whether length, breadth and thickness adhere to the substance which we call dead matter, whether the substance remaining, the qualities are there or not. To this our Buddhist says, you have no ground for maintaining the existence of such a substance. The qualities are all that exist. You do not see beyond them. This is just the position of most of our modern agnostics. For it is this fight of the substance and qualities that, on a higher plane, takes the form of the fight between noumenon and phenomenon. There is the phenomenal world, the universe of continuous change, and there is something behind which does not change. And this duality of existence, noumenon and phenomenon, some hold is true, and others with better reason claim that you have no right to admit the two. For what we see, feel and think is only the phenomena. You have no right to assert there is anything beyond phenomena, and there is no answer to this. The only answer we get is from the monistic theory of the Vedanta. It is true that only one exists, and that one is either phenomena or noumena. It is not true that there are two, something changing, and in and through that something which does not change. But it is the one and the same thing which appears as changing, and which is in reality unchangeable. We have come to think of the body and mind and soul as many, but really there is only one, and that one is appearing in all these various forms. Take the well-known illustration of the monists, the robe appearing as the snake. Some people in the dark or through some other cause mistake the robe for the snake. But when knowledge comes, the snake vanishes and it is found to be a robe. By this illustration, we see that when the snake exists in the mind, the rope has vanished, and when the rope exists, the snake has gone. When we see phenomena and phenomena only around us, the noumenon has vanished. And when we see the noumenon, the unchangeable, it naturally follows that the phenomena has vanished. Now, we understand better the position of both the realist and the idealist. The realist sees the phenomena only, and the idealist looks to the noumenon. For the idealist, the really genuine idealist who has truly arrived at the power of perception, whereby he can get away from all ideas of change. For him, the changeful universe has vanished, and he has the right to say it is all delusion, there is no change. The realist at the same time looks at the changeful. For him, the unchangeable has vanished, and he has a right to say this is all real. What is the outcome of this philosophy? It is that the idea of personal God is not sufficient. We have to get to something higher, to the impersonal idea. It is the only logical step that we can take. Not that the personal idea would be destroyed by that, not that we supply proof that the personal God does not exist, but we must go to the impersonal for the explanation of the personal. For the impersonal is a much higher generalization than the personal. The impersonal only can be infinite, the personal is limited. Thus we preserve the personal and do not destroy it. Often the doubt comes to us that if we arrive at the idea of the impersonal God, the personal will be destroyed. But if we arrive at the idea of the impersonal man, the personal will be lost. But the Vedantic idea is not the destruction of the individual, but its real preservation. We cannot prove the individual by any other means, but by referring to the universal, by proving that this individual is really the universal. If we think of the individual as separate from everything else in the universe, it cannot stand a minute. Such a thing never existed.